also do want to record a few more singles and continue to refine our sound with a plan to release an EP, I would say, this year as well. It's very ambitious, but that's our goals. Hi, so we are King Kuiper. We are a 5-piece indie rock band based in Berlin. Indie rock is a loose term, but I guess we call it indie rock. And yeah, we've been playing for a few years now and just recently released a new single, which is why we're also excited to be here talking with Eshin today.
2015 or 16 that the best friend of mine decided to actually have a band together, and from there it starts to evolve.
Our bass player actually was working on a particular riff. He often drives the groove within the band. And so Stefan, who is the bass player, Christoph and I, that kind of work on initial melodies. And then over time, we start to fill it out a little bit more in detail. Late Night Tales is very interesting for us as well, because it's a bit of a departure from the previous sound that we've been working towards. We were always very much more of a, I guess, typical indie rock and roll band, and a lot more, I think, influenced around guitar-based sounds and quite guitar-driving melodies. Definitely more towards this more like dancey sort of sound, and a bit more upbeat, but still retaining this like level of moroseness, let's say, because previously it was much more indie rock. And I think we are looking to explore that a little bit more in the future as well with our new releases that we're working on. Generally, like in the songwriting process, for me particularly, because as a singer, I'm usually working on like melody and lyrics. And then song title kind of comes from that, right? I have a tendency in my songwriting process not really write many lyrics until pretty much the very end of the process. And usually it's just me working on melodies. And so focusing with the writing process to kind of find the sounds that I want and the pitch that I want in particular areas. And in that process, I usually come up with one line in a chorus that tends to stick. And then I tend to write the rest of the song around that. Late Night Tales specifically, theme of this song is actually really focused around mental health and kind of working on yourself, but also working on yourself in order to be able to support the people you love and be able to support the ones that are around you. And often these are the sort of thoughts and processes that you go through late at night, right? Like before you fall asleep. This is like the kind of mind overthinking. That's kind of where the name came from. And that's where the actual feeling and the meaning behind the song comes from. You know, with the new songs that we've been working on, it's very much of a discovery phase for us as well as musicians and artists. And I think we're still really working on refining this new sound that we're working towards. And once we have that, I think that's when the next step is to really focus on an EP, right? But often I've been in bands previously, but also the experience I hear from other bands is that it's really important to kind of find your defining sound early on. And changing that often requires a lot of work, right? So we started this process of change, let's say, with this song. And I think the future does definitely have an EP in the very near future, I'd say. But we wanted to firstly release this and get a bit more work around this sort of sound and an opportunity to test this sound. I think the reaction of people has been relatively positive. It still has that King Kuiper sound to it, but, you know, we also want to kind of evolve with what we like and what also we are influenced by. And I think do that successfully as an artist, then people tend to resonate with your music regardless, right? Like as long as it's not a carbon copy of something else just because, and you really put the passion and the behind it, then I think you can really take your fans into really interesting places with the evolution of your music. We do have an artwork with the single. The artwork for the single was basically a 5-minute WhatsApp conversation where we were sharing images to each other that we found on like a stock website. And so we owe a donation to some random photographer. Yeah, don't tell him. This is definitely a theme of contention within the band. I think we all appreciate and realize importance of social media and the opportunity, right? As an emerging band, it's important to be able to connect with fans and potential fans, and it's important to be always on and always present. Transparently, none of us are very big social media fans, just because we're not the most diligent when it comes to our social media presence. We also appreciate that's something we need to work on. And I think in the last few months, particularly with the release actually of Late Night Tales, we've really wanted to push a bit more of effort into actually connecting with our fans and producing good content for our social media, because for us, the music is the key thing and the music is the most important thing. And we make music, you know, not just for other people, but of course for ourselves. But the benefit of being able to share that music with people is super exciting and really enjoyable. And so I think in understanding that, we also learned over time that yeah, social media is very important, albeit very difficult to do. I think without social media, one, it would be almost impossible for us to get our music out there because, I think radio is still very important, but radio, it doesn't have the same impact anymore as things like social media. There's a lot more digital users now than there are analog users. But I think more importantly, what people tend to really connect with isn't just the music, but also the story of the band and a bit more of like the experience and getting that view behind the curtain of like, what is this person like? Who are these individuals that are making this music that I'm interested in? So being able to do that and using social media as a tool for that is definitely helping in terms of growing followers and music. Another single we've been working on that will be coming out, I'd say, in a couple of months from now. We haven't set the date yet, but it will be, I think it's going to be a summer hit. That's the plan. However, it is actually a bit more of a rocky song. So this is still very much the old King Kuiper sound, but we're super excited about it. It's a really powerful song and we can't wait to share it with everyone. We are planning a tour. We're still in the early stages of it, but the idea is that we'd like to do by the end of the year a small tour around at least Germany. We would like to explore also places like the Netherlands, for example, as well. But it's just, it's a matter of us to making sure that we can balance the time with the rest of our lives outside of music. But yeah, I think one personal goal of ours, I think is a shared goal, is definitely to plan a small tour before the end of the year. Our immediate plans is definitely, as we said, we want to get on tour. We want to play more shows to more people and get out there. We also do want to record a few more singles and continue to refine our sound with a plan to release an EP, I would say, this year as well. It's very ambitious, but that's our goals. In terms of 2024, for us right now, it's all growing very quickly and it's all kind of still very new and exciting for us. I would say that right now we just want to keep the wheels turning. That's kind of the most important thing. So if I think of 2024, it's continuing in the same direction, but with every step and every day, we get closer to having one additional fan or one extra person at our gig or one extra listener. This year is already super exciting for us. Next year is really just continuing that track.
And maybe just to add, it would be nice to like expand our own range of sound.